Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome Steve and Schnee back to the channel. We are doing episode 2 in our Residence series, so we're looking at 1979 to 1985. So let's get started.
Grant is changing the world one track at a time on Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Oh, ho, ho, Steve and Schnee. Nice to see you.
What's
How are you?
up? What's up?
Hey, we are doing episode 2 in our Residence series, so we're looking at 1979 to 1985. Now, you know, Steve, I'd like to welcome you back.
Thank you.
It's always fun talking music. Oh, look, we have Jason here. We've got one person.
We've got
Jason. Thank the Lord.
I also want to, before we get the show going, I think it was Zeb.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had commented, and I apologize if it wasn't Zeb, but somebody had commented that when I was talking about the American Composer series and I was talking about the Gershwin and the marching, and then they said I was getting it confused with the John Philip Sousa one, which I apologize. Yes, I did get that confused. But since that episode aired last week, I think it was a week ago tonight, right?
Yes.
And since it aired, I've been reading that the American Composer series is coming out on Cherry Red soonish, probably in the next couple months, as a 3 CD box set. So
there you go. Win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you think about it, those probably all should be grouped together.
Yeah, I will get that. I will get that box set, but that's the latest I'll go because I just can't afford to dip.
We do have some people. We have some people coming in now.
James T-Set will be on the next ski lodge. My bella me.
So anyway, I want to thank, James, Ken, Nick, Harv. I appreciate everybody's tuning in. We are going to be talking about, we're going to start off in 1979. I think we can get through it. Steve has reassured me that, yes, we can finish this up in this one episode.
Mm-hmm.
See, we're getting a thumbs up. Christopher Ernest is giving a thumbs up.
I think somebody complained about the last episode that your guest kept talking.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Was it that one or was it the?
Well, you are the guest, Schnee, so you're supposed to talk.
Yeah. Well, no. I guess I was just long-winded, but I'm long-winded. That's the way it goes.
It's all about the music in the warehouse.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's also all about the music on your channel, CD Junkie.
Absolutely.
So if we're long-winded, so be it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, let's get started. I'm not going to give the introduction of the residents. We've already done that. We're going to continue our series where we left off. We're talking about Eskimo 1979. This came out in 1979. Of course, this is experimental. This is ambient, art rock, whatever you want to call it. But it's I have to laugh because every time I listen to this thing, I just have to chuckle. It's pretty out there. But this is one of those albums that I think is very highly regarded in the Residence catalog. What's your thoughts on this, Steve?
Okay, now the two versions I have. This is the MVD one. I don't have the ESD one.
Flip. See the back. See, I've got the original first press.
You have the ESD one.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I also have, of course, Cherry Red just does a great job on all of their, on the preserved label, or their preserved series. Mm-hmm. And they do a whole lot of fun stuff there. And there's the back of that. Here's the thing about Eskimo is I was not a huge fan of it when it first came out. I was not a huge fan when I heard it. I didn't hear it until a year after it came out. I remember seeing the album everywhere but remember by this time I had heard Nuggets or Nibbles. It was, Nibbles
or Nuggets.
No, yeah,
from the psychedelic era.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nibble Nuggets was the psychedelic era of the Residents. But so I saw this everywhere, and people were just raving about it. Friends and people who are into the more artsy type stuff. But I skipped it, and I didn't get into them until the next album. But then I went back and listened to this, and at first I didn't get it. Could not get into it. I thought it was enjoyable. I even bought the single Eskimo.
I'll be damned. Look who's here. Freaking Annie T
Annie
making an
T.
appearance.
Yo, boy.
Yo in the house.
Yeah.
Yo, dog.
Nobody knows who's in the band, Annie T. That's the thing.
That's right, mate.
For 50 years, they have maintained anonymity, and pretty amazing. But it's so absolutely bizarre because, okay, now I love the album, but
but how long did it take you to really grasp it? Because I'll be honest, I can listen to it. It's not like listening to the commercial album or maybe some of the albums that come later.
Mm-hmm.
I still struggle with it, even though I think at this time, when I'm doing research and looking at some of the reviews, a lot of the fan base think that this is like the most accessible thing yet.
See, here's the thing about this. They did do a couple things to make this more accessible to people. They released, as I mentioned just a few moments ago, the single Eskimo, which is basically they took bits and pieces of the musical or musical segments of the songs, and then they combined them all on like one disco song. They put like a beat to it and they added all this stuff to it. And essentially they re-record the stuff. It's not like they just spliced it in there and stuff, but they did that to make it more accessible. So then when you went back to listen to the album, you're going, oh, there's that little musical hook that I heard on the Eskimo single. They also took like Festival of Death excerpt and put it on compilations and stuff. But this is an album that you need to listen to from beginning to end. There are no singles. There are no hits. There are no immediately accessible pop melodies on this. I find pop melodies in Residence records because I've gone past the weirdness. The great thing about this record, this is the great thing about a lot of art, is the artist is going to create it out of their own creativity, I guess. That's what you do when you create. You get creative and you create creativity, art. You create art. And what I believe this album is they have an idea in their head. There's a little explanation on the back of it. It's Eskimo culture and, all this kind of stuff. And, you go through basically a day in the life of an Eskimo. And
is it true though, Schnee, that what I understand, we might be going on a tangent here, but is it true that the Eskimos put their old people out at night?
Put their old people out at night?
That's right.
No, that's the Flintstones.
Oh, God, I got it confused once again.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I got that confused. They put their dinosaurs out at night, and then the dinosaur runs back in and then puts...
What about the cat, though?
The cat? I don't remember.
Remember? Fred takes the cat and just throws...
That's
what the cat's name? Tiger?
I don't know.
Tiger.
Throws the cat out. That's what it is. Throws the cat out, then the cat runs back in and throws Fred out. Exactly. That's what it is.
Exactly. That's what it is. God, I'm glad we got through that.
So anyway, the great thing about Eskimo is we're all going to hear it differently. Hey, Kitty.
Kitty?
That
what the freaking shit is happening here? Kitty?
I think
I'm sorry.
It's just a lot of people call me Kathy, so she wants to avoid confusion. Sorry. No, so everybody's going to hear this album differently. We are all going to say this is Eskimo culture in a nutshell, a day or week in the life of an Eskimo, whatever it is, and we're all going to hear it. We're all going to imagine it differently in our heads, and that is the great thing about art, and that is the great thing about Eskimos. I can sit here and tell you it's a great album, but I'm listening to it in a completely different mind frame than you are, and then everybody else is. We all see something different in this piece of art, and that's what really made me connect with the album is when I finally understood, hey, this isn't a bunch of pop songs. This is an ambient new age album. This is new age before new age.
I think what you just said is perfect. It is new age before new age.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's quite anything like this in the catalog up until now.
There's concepts,
right?
There's nothing like this.
So do you think that that's probably why the fan base has grabbed onto this so heavily? I mean, this record's thought pretty highly of.
I
I mean,
think so.
what do you think?
I mean, I think so because I think that, like, since this album was taking so long for them to record, or so they remember, everything that they've said is a lie, and everything they've said is the
Right.
truth. So, the interesting thing about it is you've got, it was taking so long for them to put this concept together, supposedly, that they released Not Available. In the meantime, in the downtime, they said it was recorded in 74, 75. Like I told you, there's no way it was. That is a new Residence album, which that's like the happy side. I mean, if you can even call Not Available happy, that's the happy side, where Eskimo is more the serious, brooding side of where the band was at that time. And it's really, really a fantastic album.
Yeah, I think this was recorded between 76 and 79. But it seems like they were recording all kinds of stuff and things kind of overlapped.
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah,
it's complicated.
Yeah.
I had BM Bolt and I were looking at the Zappa. We were looking at Zappa last night, and we were looking at that era in the late 70s where there was a lot of lawsuits, and Zappa was on the outs with his manager Herb Cohen, and he submitted Lather, and Warner Brothers basically took it apart and reissued it in different sections, and it's recorded all over the place, and it's very complicated. Kind of the same thing with the Residents, because this album came out in 79, but man, they started recording it in 76, and this could be recorded along the lines of something else. So
I'm sure that whatever they were thinking of in 1976 when they started this project, it probably ended up to be completely different, because there doesn't seem to be proper song structure like the Residents do. But it seems to be it's like this part of the brain they use to create shorter songs, stuff like that. This part of the brain they use to create Eskimo. And fascinating record, or album, or CD. Remember, I'm the CD junkie. Boxes of CDs packed up next to me as well.
Just look behind him.
Yeah.
I will say this, the Residents really didn't have much success. But this, I think the initial pressing when this came out in 79 was like 10,000 copies. But I think eventually, it sold like 10 to 20,000 over its lifetime. And I think this is probably a successful release for them, But
this might have been
go ahead.
Album cover wise, this is the first appearance of the tuxes with eyeballs, or the eyeball heads. This is why I call them the rockin' retinas. And that right there solidified them as pop culture icons. Just that image right there. That, if no one's heard a note of music, if I say, oh yeah, I bought a new Residence reissue. Oh, is that the band with the eyeball heads? And then some people, will make jokes about, oh yeah, I like the Pleased to Meet Me album. It's like, nah, same first two letters.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, it is an album that we're all going to hear different. We are. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to like it. Some people are just going to say next. And it's a different experience for every listener. And that's the way that really art should be.
But I think it's one of those records. I mean, if you're a Residents fan or you're getting into the Residents, I think it's probably one of those records you probably might want to taste test and get. It's thought of as being one of their best records. All right, Mark of the Mole, 1981. So this came out. What?
Are we just going to skip?
Commercial album, 1980.
Jeez Louise.
Jesus Christ,
you are a knucklehead.
Well, it's been a long
I'm
day.
sorry, I just cursed. I'm sorry.
And it's Thursday, and I'm ready for Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
You know how it is in the warehouse. Warehouse is very busy.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of bullshit.
Commercial album, 1980, my favorite Residence album of all time. Because yes, it is a bit commercial, but when you listen to it, it's not commercial at all. But it, by Residence standards, it is. All the songs on this were all 1 minute long. I guess the idea was you could just take this, put it on shuffle, and create your own record with it.
Let me read what it says again.
Go ahead.
Point 1. Pop music is mostly a repetition of two types of musical phrases, the verse and the chorus. Part 2. These elements usually repeat 3 times in a 3-minute song, the type usually found on top 40 radio. Point 3. Cut out the fat and a pop song is only 1 minute long. What they're saying is every pop song out there has like a verse and a chorus, verse, chorus, fade. So if you basically just take the part, without all the repetition, and you just get the core of a pop song, it's going to be 1 minute long. Then they also say that point 4, 1 minute is also the average length of a radio commercial jingle, thus making this a commercial album. It is not only commercial because it's 1 minute of a pop song without the, cutting out the fat, but it's also commercial because every song is the length of a radio commercial.
Right.
It is to think that this is commercial. Now, this is the album that got me into them. Remember, I had issues with
the one that got me into them.
Yep.
We talked about this, Schnee. Go ahead.
I bought it at, I think it was at Renee's All Ears in Hollywood. It might have been on Melrose. It might have been Renee's All Ears that I bought it. And I just remember looking at the cover and saying, I'm going to check this out because I didn't like the other stuff, but this looks so darn interesting. And then having, if nobody noticed, John Travolta and Barbara Streisand on the album cover.
Well, I did.
You didn't notice that?
I never noticed it. Now I do.
I listened to it and I go, whoa. Took me a couple listens. You have to, it's kind of like you get a stray dog and you bring it home and oh my God, the thing smells and it's scruffy. You got to cut its hair. You got to clean it down. That's what you have to do with Residence. You have to get through that weirdness. You have to get through the smell, clean it up or whatever. And the minute you get inside and you realize what is there, beyond the scruffiness, you find these wonderfully creative ideas. You find these wonderful melodies. You don't hear the weirdness anymore. You hear the hooks, the boom, 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 boom. You hear that. Something else could be going on to that, but your mind is attracted to this boom, 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 boom. And you all of a sudden you're walking around, you're doing the dishes, mowing the lawn, maybe cleaning certain parts of your body.
Schnee.
And all you hear is boom, 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 boom. You hear that in your head. It's just amazing.
Well, you remember back in the day, we talked about this Night Flight. This is my gateway drug. They played a lot of different Night Flight. Come on, everybody in the chat. You remember Night Flight. They used to play a lot of Residence stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They played It's a Man's World all the time.
That is so.
This is a bonus track.
Their version of This Is a Man's World, or This is Man's World.
Right.
Oh,
they love James Brown. The Residents love James Brown.
I just wish that the James Brown side of that composer's thing was that sped up voice. Instead, it was a slowed down voice.
Sean, 100%. He did all the artwork for all these.
Homer Flynn, he's not a member of the Residents at all. He is the manager of Cryptic Corporation. He's the manager of the band, and he doesn't, that's not his voice on every song, and that's not his ideas in every song. Homer's the Residents.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, he's the guy that wears the old man mask.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, Homer, if you, did I do a phone interview with Homer? Yeah, I think I did a phone interview with Homer quite a few years ago. And he's unassuming,
Is
down
that
to
on
earth.
your website? Is that on your
No, that was for work, so it's printed, so I
Mm.
have to find it.
Now,
Uh,
wait a minute, Schnee. So you
mhm.
interviewed Homer, but what was it for? You did it for work, but for what? I'm
I'm
just
trying to
curious.
remember. It was for a reissue, maybe the reissue series on MVD or something. I can't remember, but I just remember going, "This is freaking Homer Flynn.
Mhm.
This is the guy that I have just spent hours listening to and going, what the hell is going on, and why do I love it so much?" And I mean, I'd love to interview him for my channel, not as a member of the Residents, of course, because he's not a member of the Residents. He is the manager and overseer
Mhm.
of the Residents. Um, but this, I still feel that the band was, oh my gosh, I can't remember.
You know, we're not going to get through 1986,
No, we are. Okay,
85.
okay.
No,
Anyway,
no,
this is,
I'm not telling you to move fast because we're talking music. I
no,
don't care how long it takes. But Nate, we need to do
no.
an
Remember,
episode 3.
we had people complaining that I talk too much.
I don't give a
So,
shit. You talk, Schnee.
I'm not going to talk anymore.
Oh, no, keep going. I love it when you talk.
No,
You're my guest. Go.
what is the name? I'm sorry, guys. I can't remember of the member of the band that passed recently, or I mean, in the last couple
Oh,
of years.
um,
I feel so
uh,
bad
uh,
because right
it starts
before
with
his
an H.
uh, Horace Silver. No, he was a jazz guy.
No,
But he right before
Hardy Fox
yeah,
of
Hardy Fox.
2017. He's a
Yeah,
member.
Hardy Fox. He was a member of he admitted uh towards the end of his life that he was a member of the Residents. I
But
believe. I
there were
believe.
other people. John Kennedy, who left early.
I know. Thank you, Sean Barnes, for bringing up Hardy as well. I apologize to Hardy and everybody else that I forgot his name.
Jason says, keep talking. They'd love you.
But
But John Kennedy,
oh yeah, no, there were other members of the Residents, but I believe like once you're getting to the next album after this, that's when I think more people are dropping off. And I think that like after the Mole Trilogy, I think that's when you lost a lot of the band.
well, I think a lot of people probably needed to support themselves.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
if you were doing this, well, you're not going to make much money off of it. I know it's an artistic endeavor, but let's be honest.
Yeah, there's this great band called the Cardiacs that for a couple of years, man, they were just building and building. You know, they're out just this incredible. It sounded like early Split Ends meets the Addicts, you know, the punk band, and it's incredible, amazing, awesome. But the band members from the classic lineup started to drop off because they just needed to go out and support themselves.
Right.
Because a lot of bands can't do it. We love them. We want them to keep going, and we buy their albums, but you know.
Jay Clem, thanks,
Yes,
Sean.
there you go.
Sean is all over it.
Thank you,
you
Sean.
got John Kennedy, you had Jay Clem, and you're 100% right, Sean. He became a real estate agent. He's still part of it right here. So I'm going to ask you, Schnee, I know we're going to go all over the place. There's no way we can do this and talk the Residents effectively. But is that why you kind of dropped out? So like after 1985, I mean, we're not there yet.
Musically, they changed.
Okay, how?
Because they moved away from that band format. You weren't hearing two voices
Well,
anymore.
there's no band anymore.
Exactly. And they like I really enjoyed Freak Show. In fact, my daughter, who just a young kid, she was totally into Harry the Head and all this kind of stuff. In fact, when we were playing virtual miniature golf on Meta, on whatever that headset's called, she was, we were talking about it. But it's really, I don't know. That's kind of like why I lost interest, because there was less creative minds going into the whole thing. Both
Okay.
Hardy. No, both Homer and Hardy, who are not members of the Residents, very creative guys.
John Kennedy
And John Kennedy and Jay
Jay,
Clem,
we don't.
very
we're
creative
not
guys, and they
members,
were not
right.
members of the Residents.
Right.
But they were very creative guys, and they created some great
Well,
music.
here we
The versions
go.
I have is the RSD one. It's
I've
the
got
40 songs on the original version. Because
show the back again.
This is the one you have.
That's the one I've got.
Okay, the album came out 1 minute songs, 20 aside. So you're looking at a 40-minute album, 40 songs. The CD has 10 bonus tracks, including their version of This Is a Man's World, the great version of Jailhouse Rock, which I love.
Oh,
And it's got We're a Happy Family.
mm-hmm.
The Sleeper, I love. Boy in Love, I love. And this has Eskimo on it, or Disco.
I love all those bonus tracks on there.
Shot Up. And then I have the great Cherry Red Preserve section.
Okay, so what's different about that as opposed
this
to
has the whole album, and then it's got different bonus tracks. It's a 2 CD.
All right, I don't have that, but since I love this record so much, should I opt and go ahead and get that?
Well, I think you should get all the preserves because
Okay,
they do reveal something, a lot of hidden gems. The thing that I don't like about the preserved things, okay, I'm not a fan of the Residents live. Maybe seeing them live would be cool, but live, the vocalist, who was not Homer Flynn, he growls a lot, like, "Is everybody," And
so did Miles Davis.
Yeah, but I don't listen to Miles Davis either.
Hey, I'm not judging.
Yeah,
Just saying, just throwing it out there.
Corey Feldman does it too.
Yeah, did you ever see that video? I know we're on a tangent. God, I can't help it. We're at 27 minutes and we're not going to get anywhere near 1980.
We will.
No, we won't.
Yes, we will. Just go.
I don't care. I love
Forget about
just
Corey
talking
Feldman.
music.
Forget about how awful Corey Feldman is and how embarrassing he is musically.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, commercial album, 1980. I love it. I would say this would be a good gateway drug to the Residents if you want to go down that road, if you haven't heard it. But please get the CD that's got It's a Man's World and all those bonus tracks. You've got to have, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Their next project was the concept of this, which you're going to be able to find.
I'm going to put it right here. There it is. Mark of the Mole.
Now, the version I have is the mute version. So it's Mark of the Mole and Intermission. This is a concept album. They went out on tour with this and took this out on the road and created
it was a mess.
But it was legendary. It was legendary. But the concept is the Moles and the Chubs. The Moles were the underground people. The Chubs, and they were like the friendlier people. The Chubs had or was it the other way? The Chubs had happier music.
The Moles, they were subterranean laborers,
and
the Chubs were hedonistic sea residers.
And then there was
Say
a
that
flood.
Real fast.
Then there was a flood, and the Moles had to come above ground and had to integrate with the Chubs. The Chubs. Now this is a mole. This is one of the moles there. This is one of the Chubs. But it's a concept album, and it's, again, they just do so many things, and it's a darker album, but it's fascinating, and it's something you listen to over and over again. Now, they created a live show, and they created intermission music for it, and they put out a mini album called Intermission. And this is the mute version. It's got a booklet in it, whatever.
When did the mute version come out?
I don't know.
Well, okay.
But it's great though. And then part 2, that was kind of part 1 and then intermission. Part 2 of the Mole Trilogy is Tunes of Two Cities that came out in what year? This was 80,
This is 1982.
82.
Mhm.
This is this is I think I like this more than commercial album. I think Not Available, Fingerprints, commercial album, and this are my favorites.
Well, I mean, this thing's a little bit more, God,
This
how would I describe it? A little bit more jazz oriented because I think they were influenced by like Stan Kenton and Sun Ra and all that. A little bit.
there's two completely different styles of music. There's songs performed by the Moles,
Mhm.
followed by a song performed by the Chubs. The Chubs are the ones that have the happy music. Bam, bam, ba-dam, 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 ba- bam, bam, da, ba-dam, ba-dam, bam, bam. Incredible. Serenade for Missy
Yeah, I
is
like it.
beautiful. Oh my God. Clap or what is it? Smack your lips, clap your teeth.
Mhm.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And it goes like that. It's a Mole song, Chubs, Moles, Chubs. It shows the two cultures, the music of the two cultures, and they're very different, but they're performed by the same band. And this is, I think it's an instantly lovable album. It shows you their weirdness, but it also allows the melodies to come out. And if that isn't overwhelming enough, Cherry Red did a wonderful thing, and they put out the Mole Trilogy box. And this box set contains a booklet, of course. It contains Mark of the Mole. It contains,
It's the whole thing.
it contains that. And this we haven't talked about yet, Big Bubble.
We will.
Yes. And it contains like live and unreleased stuff. It contains a couple live shows. And it's a 6 CD box set. This pretty much features everything. I just have to check here. Mark of the Mole does have bonus tracks. Tunes of Two Cities does have bonus tracks, more than the one that's available.
Right.
Big Bubble. But the thing that gets me is I didn't look at this. Does it have intermission? I didn't look. It's got to have the song from intermission.
Well, let's hope.
But if you have, if you want the entire Mole trilogy, so this spans the years 81, 83, then it goes up to 85. And there were a couple other releases that were going to hit, but the part 4 of the Mole trilogy, because there was never
Mhm.
really part 3, because intermission doesn't count,
Mhm.
so there's never part 3 of this, but part 4 is the Big Bubble. Came
Big
out in
Bubble.
19, yeah. And what that is this is an album that takes place many years later. Those are not the members of the Residents on the cover. That's the members of the Big Bubble. And over the years, over the coming decades, the Chubs and the Moles came together, and of course, there's the whole thing about the Chubs mating with the Moles, and
Mhm.
these are their children creating a new style of music, and that's what the Big Bubble is. And fascinating stuff. So that's the Mole trilogy right there.
Well,
I'm
just gonna. I know. Well, I don't know how we're gonna get. Well, we're doing pretty good.
almost done.
34 minutes. You're a professional, Schnee.
Yes.
So out of all if you broke down the trilogy, the Mole trilogy, well, it's 4 parts. What is your favorite part? What is the
Tunes
best
of Two
part?
Cities.
Okay,
I think Tunes of Two Cities is incredible. There's no story to it, and
it's instrumental.
it's instrumental, and it's music from both cultures. Like I said, it's got that dark grinding sound of the Moles with the upbeat cocktail jazz sound of the Chubs. The thing about it, though, it's fascinating, is I'm saying cocktail jazz. No, this is the Residents version of cocktail jazz. It's
Right.
still very, very Residents.
Mhm.
But I love it because just Serenade for Missy and Smack Your Lips, those songs are so catchy. I've made, back in the day, I made mixtapes with those songs right next to Duran Duran and
can see
whoever
that.
else, because they're so catchy. But of course, I got
Well,
yelled at.
wouldn't you think though the Big Bubble would be more?
I think the Big Bubble is less commercial. It's more
But
back
it's a
to
little
the.
bit more new wavy garage rocky. When I hear it, no.
I mean,
How do you hear it?
I hear it as it's a cool idea, but I mean, like, what's a Cry for the Fire is incredible. Oh my god!
Mhm.
But sorry, I'm sorry. You know, I think it's really good, but it's not my favorite of the Mole Trilogy.
Guys, Stay Go. Thoughts on that? You like that?
Uh, Like I said, I think that the whole album is very, very interesting.
And I want to say this before we go on that Penn Jillette does vocals on this. Do you
Penn
know that?
Jillette was involved a lot during these years. He wasn't a resident,
No,
but he
he was
was
a
the
big
face of the
fan.
residents. In fact, because he was a known entity and he toured with them and did intros and I never saw live, but
I
he
never
did
did
like
either.
I think he did like a radio show, sort of documentary type radio show on them. Uh, I don't know if he has anything to do with them now, but
Because X of Music last week we already did the first episode in the Residence series, so we were gonna try to do everything, but we had to break it up, and so this is the second part.
yeah.
That's
So
why we're starting with 79. So go back
74 to
down
78.
below. Yeah.
74 to 78 was in part one. That was exactly a week ago today.
Well, you
Um,
might be slow, but I am not going to judge you
yeah.
because
So
I don't judge.
so during the
Mole
uh
Trilogy in
yeah, in between the
between
Mole
3 and
Trilogy,
4. Yeah.
they made an album with Ronaldo and the Loaf called Tidal and Limbo. And in fact, it's got some great songs, Monkey and Bunny, and this CD version here has the album plus songs, I think, or at least ideas that were recorded but not released at the same time. But this was also on Ralph Records, which was their label, and it's a 2 CD set. And this is it's Ronaldo and the Loaf are kind of like their British contemporaries, or I mean, well, they were the British contemporaries, but they were kind of like the British version of the Residents. I like some of their stuff. I think that this is a great introduction to them, and then you can decide if you want to get into their albums. But I think that that's really cool. I think that was what 83. Let me
This
see. I
was
had
83.
83.
And I think this is one of those records that the fans kind of embraced. That got a lot of great positive reviews among the fans. It's definitely worth seeking out. I mean, if you're getting into the Residents, I mean, this is not one of those records that stands out like Eskimo or the Mole Trilogy, but I think if you're getting into it, I think this has a lot to offer. Mahogany wood,
Yes.
and you mentioned Monkey and Bunny. There's a lot of it's got a charm. It's got a certain charm to it.
Yeah. I can't find right now the CDs that we did last week, but one of them is either not available or something.
Mhm.
The they put like the songs that the Residents featured
Mhm.
not moron, that they were they put those on as bonus tracks onto one of the Resident CDs. So like
I'm
Monkey and Bunny, Mahogany Wood, things like that are featured on one of the Residents. I think it might have been not available. The CD not available.
I'm just curious because
Mhm,
a lot of this this album was recorded like in 1981 over like 10 days.
mhm,
Evidently, it sat on the shelf for 2 years.
mhm.
I wonder why it sat on the shelf. Do you have any idea? Do you have any insight into that and know
The only
why
thing
it
I
was?
can think of is that they were busy with the Mole Trilogy.
Yeah, probably.
And
Yeah.
remember, we think of a lot of artists as these incredibly gifted, amazing, creative people, magicians. But the fact is if you're not a superstar, the money's not coming in.
Right.
Um, So the band, even though they have their own label, they're doing everything themselves. You know, they're packing everything, shipping it all. You know, I'm referring to back then. I mean, they're probably still doing that now, but
Homer's probably doing it,
yeah, you know, Homer's going,
even though he's not part of the band, but he's
oh yeah.
right.
No, Homer is not a member of the
Not a
Residents.
member of the
No,
Residents.
he's not the vocalist and main
The guy
creative
that
force.
wears that mask on
Yeah,
stage.
no, he is not that guy.
Anyway.
But they basically had to wait to sell records to put out more records.
Yep.
You know, I remember going to see the Undertones on the first tour they did, Reunited. It didn't have Fergal Sharkey, but it had the other 4 guys. And they had to plan this thing, and they had to take like 2 weeks off of work in Ireland, fly over here and do a 10-day tour, and then fly back home and go back to work. You know, you think that these wonderfully creative people maybe make enough money to survive, and they don't.
Yeah.
A lot of people out there had to have second jobs. A lot of them needed to borrow money in order to get their albums or their singles pressed. And we don't remember that about artists because we kind of don't want to. We don't want to.
Well, we put them in. We put a lot of these artists. At least we used to. I don't think people do it so much anymore. But you know, back in the day, you'd look at these artists and put them up on pedestals. You remember? There was no internet back in the. Now we're going on a tangent, but everybody here watching knows what I'm talking about. You remember back in the day, you would read like Rolling Stone, you'd read Cream, you'd read Hit Parader, and they would talk about albums that were coming out. You know, the new Alice Cooper album's coming out, and you might be a big Alice Cooper fan, and you'd go, "Oh my God, it was an event." It was an event. Those days are gone. Unless you're Taylor Swift, I guess.
I remember you'd walk into Licorice Pizza, and there on the window would be a big sticker that says new Paul McCartney album, London Town, coming, you know, this particular day. New Boston album coming this particular day. You don't see that stuff anymore. Now it's just a banner on Amazon that you usually miss because you're just so tired of seeing deodorant banners on Amazon.
Well, think about this particular record. The initial pressing that the Residents did was 5,000 copies. It's estimated that it sold between 2,000 and 3,000 copies in the 80s. So they probably had a lot in reserve. The reissues, like on CDs and, you know, vinyl, estimated between 10 and 20,000 copies of this record. Mostly mail order.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, none of these Resident out. This is obscure stuff. Yeah, we know who the Residents are.
No, we don't.
We don't. I keep forgetting. Shit, Steve.
Yeah.
Whoever they are. But these records weren't. It's underground stuff, pretty much. So,
but they're probably one of the most famous of the underground bands. And the interesting thing, the thing that I was kind of getting at, that I sort of got sidetracked by.
I probably sidetracked you. I probably got on a tangent.
The thing is that there are many artists that the best thing is to have an air of mystery around them. Now, the Residents purposely created that air of mystery. The rest of the artists, I mean, we have to remember that these are regular people, that they probably had jobs.
Yeah.
You know, and they probably weren't making the money. So if you met a resident and you said, "Hey, let me take you, you know, and I'll buy you a beer," they're fantastic. They probably could not afford to buy you a beer. Now, I'm not saying the Residents in particular. I don't mean to I'm not putting anybody down, but that's just the truth of the matter. Is we put these people on a pedestal. We create this air of mystery, but they're just regular guys, except the Residents. I think that they are actually spectral beings from a different planet.
Wow, Schnee.
I know.
Impressive.
I said a big word.
Spectral. The bigger bands are still on indie labels nowadays, not just posting their albums online.
Yeah. But let's get into another 1983 album. I think this is 83. Residue.
Hold on. Shit.
It's a
I've
different
got it. I know. I don't have my notes for that one, but hold on. I've got it. There it is.
Residue. Now this is the CD version because they expanded it and they put more stuff on it. And this is a great collection of like rarities, unreleased songs. This has a lot more. This has The Replacement, which is San Francisco, Dumbo the Clown, Is He Really Bringing Roses, which I think was an EP. Safety is the Cootie Woody, which is great, which is like a lullaby, like in 3 parts. But it has the entire Residue album, and I think the whole album is great. Like Whoopi Snorp, The Sleeper, Boy in Love, and of course things that have been or that have been released since or that are bonus tracks and other things, but it's still great to have them all in one collection. Because I used to listen to the Residue album, just as its own thing, and it was fantastic. And then also,
what do you when you listen to it? Do you find it a little bit more accessible? What is it about it that
it's very accessible? It's very accessible because these are like little bits and pieces that were either B-sides or recorded for other projects, and just gathering it together for another great little collection. And every song has its own feel to it because they weren't recorded for the same project. And I think that's a plus. Now, a lot of times with the Residents, it's great that they all have sort of a unifying sound because they have a unifying feel, a unifying atmosphere. That's a wonderful thing. As different as the songs are on the commercial album, they do have a unifying sound to them. But Residue, they are not exactly unifying, but they sound great together.
Yeah, I guess a lot of these tracks, I think they span from like 1971 to 82.
Well, there's nothing like real crazy on it.
Well, I think some of them, the Sleeper, Whoopi Snorp.
Jailhouse Rock is on here.
Yeah, it's post Mole show.
Yeah,
I don't know. You know what I'm thinking? They put this out, but do you think because of the failure of the tour and everything, this is like, were they trying to like recoup losses on here? How do you look at this record?
I don't know.
I don't say it's a cash grab, Steve, but I'm just saying it just seems odd that after the whole Mole Trilogy, you know what I'm saying, the tour and all that. I don't know.
I know that the Mole show or the Mole tour, I think a lot of the negativity that was going on at the time was it's kind of been buried because of the fact of it was such a big turning point. I think that is what tore the band apart.
Well, you would think in that type of situation. Well,
yeah, because they changed after that. Everything changed musically. So, and I think it also, if it didn't physically tear them apart, and what I mean by that is, the band splitting, band members leaving, because band members probably left, a long time before.
But we'll never know.
Right. But I think it changed them as well. It changed Homer and Hardy. Well, not Homer and Hardy because they weren't members of the Residents.
No.
But it changed a whole different approach, I think. Because you have to do that. Look at what Sparks did. Sparks, they kept, when the band changed, or when when they would go in different directions. I mean, the band that made This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us doesn't sound like the same band that made Tryouts for the Human Race and the #1 song in Heaven and stuff, or the same band that made Angst in My Pants, or the same band that made When Do I Get to Sing My Way. They've adapted and changed with the times. When members left, when they were, when they had to go a certain direction, that is, I think this is what the Residents did. And plus I think that with the Residents, the same thing happened with Sparks as they started using sounds created on the Mac. And I don't like that sound.
Well, they had the emulator too. They were like one of the first people that used the emulator.
Yeah, but that was early on. That was before they went like if you listen to Freak Show, that sounds totally created on a computer. Just like when you go back and you listen to Sparks, like maybe Lil Beethoven, something like that sounds like it's just completely on the computer.
Well, John, what were you saying? John Patterson, you were saying what was the first record that the Residents? I can't remember now, but you mentioned it in the comments. What was the first record they started using, like the samplers and stuff? Oh, have to scroll back. I can't remember. John will chime in, but they were embracing the technology for a band, though, Schnee, that wasn't making any money.
We don't know if they weren't making money.
Well, I know.
Maybe they were bootlegging Beatles albums and selling them under the table. Or maybe maybe they ran the store that was captured. You can watch it on YouTube of Neil Young walking into a store, finding bootlegs of his own records and saying he's going to walk out with them. Maybe they owned that store.
Maybe.
They didn't.
Says you are spot on. The band dynamic changes. It's reflected in the sounds of the subsequent releases, 100%.
Yeah.
Kind of why we're going up to 1985, because everything, this is like the golden era.
Yeah. But let's go into one album. This is going to be the final album because we already talked about the Big Bubble. But they did a soundtrack to a movie called Whatever Happened to Violence Fats. They'd been working on this movie since the beginning. And of course, you're going to read that all this music is from back in 71 or 72, 73, 74, 75. But it's not. It's all music that was created. Maybe the songs were written, but it's very contemporary to 1984. Great collection of songs. Now, the CD contains the soundtrack to another movie they did called The Census Taker. And if anybody remembers the album cover to The Census Taker, it had Garrett Morris from Saturday Night Live with a bullet in his head.
Oh, yeah. Here.
Yeah.
There you go. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I didn't realize that was Garrett Morris.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's not. I thought it was.
No, that's Garrett Morris, 100%.
But
I love it.
Now, this is the movie, Atomic Shopping Carts, where it's a super creative, weird, artsy movie, black and white. Makes no sense whatsoever, but what does in the Residence world?
Well, you remember back in the day, Schnee, Night Flight used to play clips from that.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. That's where I happened to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have this one, this is the ESD one, I think. Yeah, this is the ESD one. It has both the Whatever Happened to Violence Fats and the Census Taker. Oh, yeah, there.
Right there is Garrett.
And then, but if you get the MVD one, it's got more tracks.
See, the whole catalog, this is kind of why we're talking. I wish I could just say, you need to get this, but there's so many different releases.
Yeah. See, we covered them in less than an hour.
Were we going to talk about,
it's a great little soundtrack.
So I guess we did cover it only because you're a professional.
Yes.
So let's say this, if anybody's getting into the Residence in this period, because I'm going to go with, this is like the classic period,
Yes. I'm not discounting their other stuff.
No, I did too.
I didn't connect with it like I did this classic period. But maybe that's because I was still wearing diapers up until 1985. I don't know. And then after that,
I be getting ready to wear diapers again.
No, I'm too old.
No, what goes around comes around.
Yeah,
Schnee.
damn it.
Sorry to tell you that.
But from this whole period, from the two shows that we've just done, my recommendations.
Yes. What would be give us your recommendations where to start.
I think that if you want to start off and see what,
I know where I'd start.
You would start with the commercial album.
100%. I love that.
I think this is not in any order, but commercial album, Tunes of Two Cities, which is I'd say that edges out as being my favorite.
Okay. That would come in number two. Number
3 would be Not Available, and number 4 would be Fingerprints, but they're really close together. That's just like saying, what's your 4 favorite flavors of vanilla: vanilla bean, vanilla, Milli Vanilla.
You like Milli Vanilla. You know,
No,
they didn't appear on their Milli Vanilla. It's not them on the album.
but it's them on the Tunes of Two Cities. They actually provide all the vocals on the Tunes of Two Cities.
No, is that
Yeah,
right?
they do. Yeah,
I'll be damned.
because it's an instrumental
right.
album. Yeah, so.
But I think a lot of this stuff in this, you know, commercial album, Eskimo. I mean, Eskimo's great.
Mhm. Oh, it is.
Yeah, I like George and James. Look at this, an album. Come on, George Gershwin and James Brown.
Yeah.
The fact that they just love James Brown, you know, they
Mhm.
love the Godfather of Soul. I think this is a great record. Whatever happened to Villainous Fats? I think that's you could even start there. But I think commercial album Eskimo, you can't really go wrong.
You know, believe it or not, though, and this is going to go against everybody.
Oh shit.
I oh
Go
Jesus, how do we get to Milli Vanilli? That's me and Grant. We're just going to throw things out
Sorry,
there.
OJ.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry.
Um,
Duck Stab. Yes.
see, yes, Duck Stab is a great album.
Yes, sir.
I think that I would probably not recommend. No, I'm sorry. I think everybody
Why?
should go where they want to go. I personally, if I was going to listen to the Residents right now, I'd listen to the 4 that I mentioned. I would not go back to the Warner Brothers album, Meet the Residents, Not Available. It's all great. Somebody also mentioned that we didn't mention Santa Dog, which is the first single.
Oh, we didn't mention that.
But the thing is I thought we did because or at least at some point when we first got on, either is right before we started recording or whatever, I started going, Santa Dog said Jesus beat the Santa Dog, you know.
Well, Kathy, this is not meant for you. You
Yeah.
like Donny Osmond and you like Barry Manilow.
Yeah.
And that's where it ends for you. This is
Even
not
now.
for you. Just she's doing her best, but no.
Dr.
This is much more in Annie T's wheelhouse than yours. Let's leave it.
Yeah.
Snakefinger. Al Val, was Snakefinger one of the Residents?
Snakefinger was not a member of the Residents, but Snakefinger worked alongside the Residents. He was a very close associate. In fact, I wish that
Do you have any of his records?
Yes, I have the first couple, or basically I have the stuff that that the Residents worked on. The first album he put out just came out recently in the last year as a double CD. And that's all the Residents with him. But I think his band, I think there was a couple he put out. I think it was the Vestal Virgins.
Observing, sure.
But I do like Snakefinger, yes.
All right, we're gonna have to clear this up. Ken says one of the craziest rumors I read was that Barack Obama was a resident. Is that true, Schnee?
Barack Obama, he wasn't an official member of the Residents, but I think it was just after they worked with Ronaldo and the
God
Loaf.
Trilogy, the God, what?
No. It was just after they worked with Ronaldo and the Loaf.
Mm-hmm.
They actually did put together an album, but the tapes were wiped. So it was going to be just called Obama and the Residents. But
that's a shame.
Yeah, but the tapes were wiped, so never happened.
Kitty wants to know where Annie T went. Well, you know, she's very complicated.
Annie
Anyway,
T's the comment right above you, Kitty.
Right. If Kitty could read, it would help. It's okay. Anyway, Schnee, you have anything else before we wrap it up? Hey,
yes,
we did it in 2 episodes. Please go check out this band, this art project, whatever you want to call it, and please report back. It might not be for you. It's not for BM Bolt, I can guarantee you.
It's a miracle, a true blue spectacle, a miracle.
Here we go. Sean Barnes always coming in for the win. When someone asked if the Residents are a real band or what, the response, the
Yeah.
Residents most definitely are an or what.
Yes.
What a way to end the show.
Absolutely.
Schnee, what's happening on the ski lodge and what's happening on your channel?
If I could pull my head out, I would get some more videos done, but I'm trying to load a bunch of stuff into my system.
OJ says, Grant, can we do a show on the Jazz Butcher?
Well, OJ, if you can send me all their albums on CD, then yes, we can.
I'm not exactly sure who the
oh,
Jazz Butcher is.
Oh, you don't know who the Jazz Butcher is?
No, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Wait a minute. Cape Cod Ken Maslov worked on an unreleased Residents project called The Residents Love You. Cape Cod Ken, come on.
No, that's no, they worked on a Mazzy worked on a project called Mazzy Loves Mazzy.
Yeah, because no one loves Mazzy more than Mazzy does.
We're gonna get so
and
much
all
help.
I don't care. Hey, tell me one person who's more into himself than Mazzy. Just saying.
Well, I think you're more into Mazzy than Mazzy's into Mazzy.
No, impossible. Grant, what? What did I say? I don't know the Jazz Butcher.
I know, isn't that weird? He claims. Oh,
do you know the Liquor Giants?
Yes, I know the Liquor Giants.
Okay. Familiar with this Brownsville Station album?
Oh my goodness.
No. How about the band Stranger? All right, come on, OJ. How about this band Stranger? You know,
I remember that album cover. What about Buck?
I love Buck Owens and the Buckaroos, baby.
6 CD collection.
I like it. Anything newer worth checking? Like, what do you mean, Jason? What do you newer? What with who? Sorry, OJ. I'll look into it. I'll look into it.
I will tell you another album to get. I'm always telling you albums to get, and you never get them.
Go ahead.
I'm always creating videos of things that I think that you should really like, and I tag you when I
go ahead. I'm writing it down.
And there's a Pale Fountains box coming out.
The who?
On Pale Fountains. Are you familiar with the group Shaq?
Nope. Like
he's
in Shaq, the basketball player?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Jason's got a legit question. Anything after 1985 worth checking out?
I like Freak Show. I will tell you, I did not like God in Three Persons.
I've got that CD.
I do not like
it. Why? I think it's pretty good.
I love the instrumental version of it.
Okay.
But that's the first time that there was really the charm of the Residents was the tweaking of the vocals, but it was like the same drawl vocal, Homer Flynn.
It was Homer. The whole
no, it wasn't.
All the way through.
Okay. It wasn't, because remember he's
okay.
But yeah, I just didn't like that album.
I don't
the
have
Freak
a
Show. I
problem
thought
with
was
God
really fun.
I don't have a problem with God in Three Persons. I've got one of those. Stuff. I got it on cassette.
You got
I
what?
was at
God in Three Persons?
a Residents album on cassette. Which one is it? I'll have to. Shit, I should have pulled it. I'm an idiot. Anyway, we've went over an hour. We always try to go an hour. Schnee.
Yes.
Ski Lodge next week. Will we expect another episode? Yes.
Oh yeah, Tuesday.
Okay. Just to let everyone know, the warehouse is on hiatus for listening parties, but we will start up, I believe, on the 17th or the 18th. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I've got a lot of new stuff, and I think I'm going to do a show on just weirdness. We'll play some Residents. We'll play some Stranger.
I thought we were going to come back and do an Australian.
We are. We'll do it after I do my show, because I live for it. BM Bolt says Schnee's locking up. Well, BM Bolt, you're probably locking up as well.
No, I am.
All right. Well, let's wrap this dog up. I want to thank Stephen Schnee here tonight. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We did it.
I've got jazz hands.
and he's got jazz hands. So please check out the Residents. Please leave a comment. Please leave a thumbs down because God knows someone will. And it doesn't matter if we have a thumbs down or a thumbs up. You might as well give us a thumbs up because the thumb down means the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And go ahead and leave a comment about how I talk too much.
And
And those I think are kind of stupid. I understand people are going to get annoyed by me because Lord knows it
I'm
happens every
annoyed.
day.
I'm annoyed.
But when I do like it when people make corrections, like I think it was Zeb who said I was referring to the John Philip Sousa, which those are welcome.
We've got another
constructive criticism.
Exa Music said, check out Horace Silver.
It's so weird. I mentioned Horace Silver earlier.
And talk about a cheapskate. Being bold, I plan to buy all my Residence media I can find at thrift stores and garages. Well, good luck, BM Bolt. You'll be dead by the time you find all of it. So good. Awesome show. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it. The Residents, we love the Residents. Somewhat. I mean, we could go on, but we're going to end it here.
Yeah.
Next show we're going to do is the Hudson Brothers somehow. I don't know what we're going to do.
We're not going to do the Hudson Brothers.
Well, let's talk about the Hudson Brothers.
We'll do it somewhere down the line.
God dang, I like the Hudson Brothers.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, anyway, we'll see if we drug this out. It's like beating a dead horse. All right, everybody. Keep it clean, wrap the rascal, and drain the lizard. All right, we'll see you on the next one. Keep it real.